sports clips from around the country. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They don't read the comments. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is amazing, then also please definitely let me know in the comments below. I definitely need the support. But either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. And I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all feel truly connected to, something that we're really proud to be part of, something that I think that we're all lacking when interacting with these other channels and other platforms. And so I really think we can do it. And honestly, I think we're well on our way to doing it. So please do consider subscribing. And so without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip from Speak with regards to, who has all the pressure, the Chiefs or the Dolphins. I'm kind of going back and forth. I haven't watched this clip at all. And when I first brought this clip up to be like, okay, I'm going to do this for the, for the channel, make a video, I was like, oh, it's definitely blank. And then I'm like, well, actually, as I'm setting up my mic and, plugging things in, I'm like, well, actually, now I don't know. It depends. How are we defining pressure from what side of things? So I think the answer is actually different than what you may think. So I'm going to let them take it away, and then I'll share my opinions.
A lot of pressure on a lot of people this weekend, but Joy, is all the pressure on the Chiefs?
No, there's no pressure on the Chiefs at all. Also, God bless all the fans going out there.
That's wrong. I'll just want to plant that flag right now that is just completely wrong, that there's no pressure on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Do you understand how insane of a statement that is making? If you are going to be considered to be a Hall of Famer, and if you are considered to be one of, the greatest of all time, trying to surpass Tom Brady, then there is always pressure on you, and that there is always a high level of a standard to succeed and win. So there is no question that there is pressure on Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. If you want to say maybe the Chiefs organization as a whole, I guess so. And maybe from the fans putting that pressure, right? Because it's whose pressure is this, right? Is it the media? Is it the fans? Is it the fans of other teams or the fans of the actual Chiefs? Is it the general media, national media, or is it the local media? So the real question is where is the pressure from? So I guess yes, the argument, if we want to say the pressure from the Chiefs, local media and fans, then yes, maybe you don't have a ton of pressure because you're grateful for what they've, accomplished, and you understand that they can't win every single year. But if you're looking at it from, this more general sense, that if we're going to praise the Chiefs as being this dynasty, as being this unstoppable juggernaut, as being this amazing team, and Patrick Mahomes as being this amazing quarterback, and Andy Reid being this amazing head coach, and Travis Kelce being on every single commercial under the sun, along with Patrick Mahomes, then of course there's pressure. Of course there's pressure. Because if you don't win, then what are you? You're gonna tell me that you're gonna have a first round loss against the Miami Dolphins? You don't think that looks bad? You don't think that that's a blemish on Patrick Mahomes' resume and Andy Reid's resume? Of course it is. So of course there is the pressure there. And again, it's not to say that Tom Brady won every single year, but the years that he didn't were technically notches against him, right? And then the reason why he's considered the GOAT is because he had more notches for him than against him. So ultimately, he's at the top of the castle, right? And so with Patrick Mahomes on his way up, this is just essentially a step back. That's just a reality. And, it's one thing to lose in the AFC Championship game, but to lose to the Miami Dolphins in the first round on Wild Card Weekend, that is not good.
I can't.
I done played in some of them games.
Yeah, if there ain't blood on that field, I'm gonna be inside That's crazy. I've sat through some games in Akron, Ohio, like that. No more.
Cool.
Yeah, that's got to be family on the field for that. That's commendable. No, the pressure's on the Dolphins. The Chiefs have won the division for the 8th straight year. Their playoff streak goes back even longer, 9 seasons. Since Mahomes has become the starter, he's 9 games better than any other NFL team. The Chiefs are 75-24. We know what they've done in the postseason. We know they've won Super Bowls. We know Patrick Mahomes has won MVPs. We know that we hold Andy Reid in a completely different category than any other coach right now. Age ain't nothing but a number for Andy Reid. So, no, all the pressure's on the Dolphins. The Dolphins haven't won the division since 2008. They haven't won a playoff game since 2000. Yuck.
So then why would there be pressure on them to beat this team that's considered to be like one of the best teams in the history of the NFL? Why would we expect that the Dolphins can overcome that and beat, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs that you just outlined is this amazing team and franchise and organization with an amazing next level head coach, an amazing next level quarterback? Please tell me, how does that make sense? Is that's like completely unfair then to say, oh, well, you should just be able to beat this amazing team because you haven't won in a long time, so you better win. Like, what? That's not fair. That's absurd. That doesn't make any sense. That's like saying, when Golden State Warriors were this dynasty team, that it was just like, you better beat them, otherwise you're just a loser. It's a disaster, and we just need to, everyone gets fired. And it's like, what? This is one of the greatest teams in the history of the NBA, and if we don't beat them, you're telling me that we're just done? That's not fair. And so that doesn't make any sense. That's not to say that there isn't pressure on the Dolphins. So that's not what I'm trying to map out. But to say that that there's just no pressure on the Chiefs and that it's just all the pressure is on the Dolphins, I reject that. And that's just media speak, right? That's media where we always have to speak in this, very binary, like yes or no, black or white. And that's not the way the world works. None of us live in this black and white world. We just do not. It just doesn't happen, okay? I mean, how many times have you really been in a situation in your life where it was just a clear yes or no, that there was never any gray area, right? I mean, it's so rare and it just doesn't exist. So this idea that we can't add context and add intelligence to this conversation and recognize, okay, there is pressure on Miami and Tua to have a good outing and to win the game or to play well, right? I think there's more pressure on the Dolphins to play well and to give us the sense that they could win this game, okay? That they're just not on completely different levels than the Chiefs. That's where the pressure lies. I look to compare it back to the Golden State Warriors when they beat the Houston Rockets, okay? Because that was kind of like their main nemesis, so to speak, during their run in their own conference. Not, of course, against the Cavaliers or whatnot. The pressure was on the Rockets to at least make it feel that you had a chance, that the Rockets had a chance that they could win. And they took it to 6 games, and I think one season 7, but I'm not entirely sure. And I think that one time was when Kevin Durant ended up getting injured, so that's a little bit more difficult. But regardless, it wasn't this guaranteed win, right? It wasn't a sweep. It wasn't 4 games straight or, 4-1 or, whatever. So there was a sense of like, oh my God, like we almost had it. It was close, but like, Golden State Warriors just have too much firepower. Now, if you got ravaged and wrecked, that's a whole different thing. So if the Dolphins come out there and they just get smoked, right? And the score is 28-7 or 28-6 or something. Yeah, that's bad. That's not good, and that's not good. But the pressure is just on them to play well, to make you feel that the Dolphins actually have a chance, or in past tense, had a chance at winning the game. That'll make you feel like, okay, like we just went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Chiefs, who Joy just mapped out how great and amazing they have been. So I just don't see that that's where the pressure is. Also, if you don't believe that Tua is this elite quarterback for the future, who you haven't extended him and you haven't, treated him as such, well, then why are you expecting to be able to beat Patrick Mahomes in that regard? It's one thing if Tua was, bona fide, without a doubt, max contract player, right? If he was a Joe Burrow, if he was Josh Allen, any of some of these other players, then you would say that's where the pressure is. But that's just not the case. It's just not. And so I just don't know where we're just kind of we're inventing narratives at this point. And now we're putting unfair pressure.
No, pressure's on the Dolphins. We don't even know if Tua's going to get paid. We're having conversations about if you pay Tua, is he a franchise quarterback? Mike McDaniel, hello. He's a young offensive coach. We just talked about this, young offensive coach. You had a 3-game lead in the division. You didn't win it. Now you have to go to Kansas City, and you lost it to the Bills. An old coach, a defensive coach, and now you got to go to Kansas City and play. And what did you say, -9?
Ooh. Yeah, it's not good.
That's 9 degrees less than no temperature. Okay?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No,
Yes.
thank you. Okay? That's indescribely
That's how it
cold.
works.
Okay, but that's how I'm going to say it, because I need it to be effective.
Hey, that's how you break it down to the world, though. That's how you break it down to the world.
When it's at
It's just to
0,
let y'all
it's less
know.
than that. So, no, if the Chiefs lose this, yes, we're going to have some questions. We're going to talk about what they need to do in the offseason. We're not going to question whether Patrick Mahomes is the future. We're not going to question if they made a mistake paying him. We're not going to question Andy Reid. We're not going to question the front office. We're going to have full faith that they're able to turn it around next year, and I bet they're at the top of the odds to win the Super Bowl at the start of next season. That will not be the case if the Miami Dolphins do not win this game. There is no pressure. Pressure? No. It'll be disappointing. It'll be disappointing. But pressure is on the Miami Dolphins.
I love that take. I love it because it was very well said, and I don't agree with any of it. I don't agree with any
Do
of
you
it.
agree with the zero temperature part?
I agree with this.
Yeah, we all
I
agree
think
with that.
all of the pressure is on the Chiefs, all of it, because it is harder in my mind to get on top, or to stay on top rather, than to get on top, as you pertains to being excellent. And if the Chiefs lose, we leading the show talking about that. The Dolphins lose, good run. But Tua's not supposed to be able to beat Mahomes. Shady, you played in Arrowhead before. Not to mention, when you think about the health of these rosters, Miami Dolphins just signed 2 people my age. They signed Bruce Irvins and they signed Justin Houston because they're out of pass rushers. Phillips, hurt. Chubb, hurt. Everybody hurt. The Dolphins aren't even supposed to win this game just off the nature of their whole roster is hurt. But if Patrick Mahomes loses to Tua? If Andy Reid loses to McDaniel at home, LaShawn McCoy, nah, I can't get with it. I think all the pressure's on the Chiefs. Do you?
Yeah, I think all the pressure on the Chiefs. I mean, just think about this for a second. I think the Chiefs have the better coach, better quarterback, right? And they have more of a healthier team. You just talked about the injuries for the Dolphins. They got a lot of injuries, right? And then from playing with the Bills and playing the Dolphins around this time, right? Well, maybe not around this time, but in December, right? The Dolphins players will be so cold, you can see it. Everybody got hoodies on, everybody. They're not ready to play. They cold. They can't wait to get this game over with. So now you look at Arrowhead, right? First of all, Patrick Mahomes is with 9-2 in Arrowhead in playoffs. Like, he's a winner. And then you had Andy Reid. They used to this weather, right? It get cold in Kansas City. I don't know if you ever been there and all that. It gets cold. So knowing that, like, you have the advantage for that. Home field advantage because you're at home, right? Playoffs, I mean, crazy fans drinking from, I don't know, in the morning time to the game time, right? And then you talk about the weather. It's going to be cold out there.
Yeah.
And I don't care what no people say out there. When you on that field and you cold, you think about it.
What?
You think about it. So in that regard, I feel like they have their advantage. And then the last part is, it's the Chiefs. Yeah. Think about if the Chiefs went out the first playoff game.
I know.
One and done. Do you know how we going to talk about that? So I hear what you're saying, Joy, and I respect a lot that you say.
I respect a lot what you say, but it just seems like everyone just disagreed with her. Although we'll see what what's his face has to say. Although I wonder now if he's going to agree with her just to like make it 2 versus 2. But I mean, I actually agree with a lot of those points. With both Acho and LaShawn McCoy. So, but again, it's not just. They both keep saying that it's just 100% on one team or 100% on the other team. Like, why are we so against giving nuanced opinions in the media? Like, why are we so against just like intellectually breaking down something and just saying, not yes or no, 100% this way, 100% that way? I don't understand. Like, both things can be true at the same time. There's pressure on Tua to play well so he can maybe get a contract. There's pressure for maybe McDaniel to, seem like a pretty good, competent coach and put everyone in a good situation. But again, Miami has their injuries. Miami is going up against a juggernaut. They're on the road. They're a warm weather team going in a freezing cold environment. Like, there's so many things stacked against them to succeed that to put the pressure on them to now be able to succeed, it's just not fair. It's if there's pressure on there, it's dumb pressure and unfair pressure. And again, Patrick Mahomes, people always say like, oh, why do you, someone said this before recently where they were like, talking about like, why don't we go criticize, why do we criticize someone like a Patrick Mahomes or any of these other players, so much? And it's like, that's what comes with the territory of being considered to be the GOAT, right? When everyone picks apart some random things that LeBron James does or looks for blemishes on his resume, that's the trade-off. If you're going to be questioned or considered as the greatest of all time or elite or a Hall of Fame, then you get put under a microscope and you get held up to unfair standards. Because if you're going to be considered the greatest of all time, then it's going to be an unfair standard. I mean, it's going to be crazy, crazy, crazy standards. So that's just the way it works. So yes, you are not expecting Patrick Mahomes to lose to the Miami Dolphins first round going out at home. Okay, if the score ends up being 21-10, Dolphins winning, that's exactly right. It's breaking news. It's everyone comes in, on these shows on Monday and says, wow, the Chiefs just lost. Was this a disaster? What does this tell? Right, all the conversation. What does this tell us about Patrick Mahomes? What does this tell us? Does Patrick Mahomes need more help? Is he not as good as we thought he was? And you have all those conversations. Is it time for Andy Reid to move on? Was it Eric Bieniemy who really was the brains behind the offense? You have all these conversations. With the Dolphins, the conversation is going to be the same conversation that it's been. Is Tua good enough? What do you sign him? Should you move on from, it's the conversations that people have been having kind of throughout, his whole career, right? So with Patrick Mahomes losing this game, there will actually be like a narrative change in Patrick Mahomes's, whole little, history book. So, that's why the pressure is more on that end, but at the same time, there's pressure on both sides. But if you're forcing me to say like you have to pick one or the other, which I just gave you a whole rant of why we shouldn't be doing that, I would say that the pressure is way more on the Chiefs.
But when you talk about one of them, the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, the throne, the king of it. Like, it was Game of Thrones, Patrick Mahomes' throne, right? Andy Reid, the first game? Now they had a lot of struggles this year. I've seen it, but still, I got them guys going out there and winning. And if they don't, that's a lot of pressure. I'm gonna let them hear it.
Yeah, this is tough because, number one, I done played in some brutal games. -20s, negatives. Yeah, negative.
You love football. You love football.
The 17 toes frozen, fingers frozen, snot froze on your face. You ain't pulling your hands out your thing to wipe it. You don't even care. It is what it is.
True.
But this is split down the middle for me, 50-50. Right? You got a young coach. Y'all talk about young coaches. He's never won a playoff game.
True.
Right? You just had a 3-game lead up in the playoffs. Up in your division. Right? And you lose the division. Now you have to go to the coach you could have been in Miami if you just handled business. And you didn't handle business. So we're talking about money for Tua. We're talking about a young coach trying to get a win on the road, get his first playoff win after just giving up the lead he gave up in the division. That is pressure. Tua has to go out here and deliver. I don't care who's hurt. I don't care what it is. If we really look at both these football teams, they really the same.
Again, that's not fair. Just say he has to just deliver. He just has to deliver. If you want to say that he is this elite, amazing, next level quarterback, then yeah, I guess so. But if you just want to say that he's a pretty good quarterback and deserves to be in the NFL and deserves to still get paid, but not in the same conversation of a Patrick Mahomes, then he doesn't have to deliver, because these are very difficult. This is a very difficult situation for Tua to succeed. And if he does succeed in it, then that will be absolutely amazing. And then you can take that into the offseason and say, look what I just did. Okay. I just threw for 330 yards and 3 touchdowns. and knocked off Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in the first round. Pay me. I am him. Let's go. That's so if there's pressure for that moment, sure, I can agree with that, but I don't know if that's like on the table, right? Like it's just, and again, if that is on the table, it's just not fair to expect that Tua is just going to be able to make that happen, especially if your defense is so banged up. And again, I don't even think he has all his weapons on the offense. And so, and if he's saying that these teams are the same, well, if they're the same, we know that Patrick Mahomes is superior. We know that. So if they're the same, but one has a better quarterback than the other, then and a better coach than the other, then how are they the same, right? One has decades of experience, and the other one has just about a decade of success in the NFL. So at being a top level. So I don't know. I just think it's if there's pressure, a lot of it is unfair pressure on the Miami Dolphins, but the pressure is fair, completely fair on the Kansas City Chiefs, especially on Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid for that matter. But what do you guys all think? Who do you think has the most amount of pressure? Who do you think should have the most amount of pressure? What do you think the storylines around this game are just kind of being right now? I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments below. And please don't forget to subscribe. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to have you part of it, truly. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps with the visibility, and it helps with the algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.